Nah. Well done indeed. Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today I want to share my first impressions with you on the BMP-2, which is actually the Soviet rival of the Warrior that also got introduced in this patch. Again, why first impressions? I have to see the greater picture, I have to test out helicopters and all the new premium tanks that I still don't have, and I have to play this and that, have to get into grips with the new maps, so many things before I actually can provide you with a proper solid tank review. Also, some bug reports might get through in the next few days, and again, this might render some of my tank reviews not completely obsolete, but not to the highest standards of being, on point in terms of actuality. The BMP-2, compared with the Warrior, it's more like the fun tank and not the serious player that the Warrior is. It can do many things, with very great performance, but it can't do them as long as the Warrior, so it can't endure the fight as long without returning to a capture point. On the surface, both vehicles seem to be very similar, and to a certain degree, obviously, they are. They're fast, they're maneuverable, they're equipped with a 30mm cannon and also with ATGMs. However, the rate of fire on the 30mm of the BMP-2 is so much higher, 550 shots per minute compared to 80 shots. The reload for the belt is the same, and then we are coming to the interesting gun handling, because the BMP-2 has a stabilizer, but it's not really that useful, not because it's a bad stabilizer, it works very well, but firing on the move in close quarters, it's not really that supported by the turret rotation speed, although it being very good, but in contrast to the Warrior, not as good. Also, while you lack the gun depression, which is a very big issue in certain situations peaking over a ridgeline, the gun elevation together with the high rate of fire makes it for a very good, backup SPAA, but you don't have the amount of ammunition to sustain the rate of fire. And furthermore, you don't have the good turret rotation speed that the Warrior again has. But the Warrior doesn't have the gun elevation, but better gun depression, has a better turret rotation speed, but the abysmal rate of fire in contrast makes it, not very likely that you actually shoot down a plane that's passing by. Possible, but unlikely. Then the armor. Well, there is a module that gives you 800 kilograms more of weight, which you really feel, so I played without it, and it doesn't really save you, unlike on the Warrior sometimes. The horsepower to ton ratio is either way over 20 horsepower per ton, which is nice. And while the forward speed effectively is comparable, 65 kilometers an hour, the reverse gear is just only minus 10 kilometers an hour, so massively slower than the Warrior that can go very fast both directions. Yeah, so the last thing that we have to talk about looking at the tank is here this upper frontal plate, and that might ricochet a lot of shells, even APDS rounds or heat shells, but very often they just get ricocheted up to the turret where then they initiate hull break or a crew knockout. So there is that. Also, the tank might get a fourth ATGM again due to the bug reports. That was I was told. Looking at the modification, and it's looking again a bit of a mixed bag compared to the Warrior. As a tier 1 upgrade, you have the 30mm APT belt, which is not really worth that because the ammunition is much like on the default belt, but you get one more AP shot in the entire belt, or the repetitive unit. And then also the HE belt is when you hunt down aircraft. The interesting part is that the APT belt might be used as a backup because you cannot fully load the APDS belt, which is a tier 3 upgrade. On the bright side, you don't have to research the Concourse missile, but only you have 4 of them. So 600 millimeters of penetration is not as good as the Milan 2 from the Warrior, but again, I don't think, 600 millimeters, if you can't kill stuff with that, I think you should learn how to play tanks appropriately. Honestly, the missile is great, it feels good, same range, feels also very fast, but not quite as fast and also not as satisfying when you use it. So it's a bit of the sound design, but that's just a personal opinion. But honestly, firing on the move with third person aim, it's not as good, I found out, as the Warriors. And also you just have half the amount of them. And while you have also for the 30mm, you know, a much higher rate of fire, you just drain ammunition. So this is more like, how should I say it? This is more like an MG42 versus the Warriors brand machine gun. Something along the lines like this. Because this is spectacular, it's spectacular to look at. And if you just, you know, steamroll a few SPAs with that high rate of fire, it's looking impressive, but after that you just have nothing left. That's the problem with the BMP-2. It's a party tank for the short laugh, but for the long endurance fight, you know, posing a constant threat on the flank for the enemy team, you just have to return to a cap circle very often. And this is not possible in every game mode, in every situation. And if the enemy team just is sitting in the cap, they can wait for you. If you're out of ATGMs, you're out of heavy hitting arguments. So this is the overall story about the BMP-2. I like it, but it definitely has its flaws. What I don't agree with is the battle rating difference between the Warrior and the BMP-2, and also the amount of research costs and the purchasing price of the tank. That also reflects itself in the cost of the modules. So while the Warrior has overall, for me personally, some bright spots, I don't think that it deserves that much higher pricing. So without further ado, let's hop into some gameplay and let's see how the tank can perform. So of course, showing a Russian light tank, we have to show some random Russian bias. And how about a random artillery strike into the capture zone of the enemy? Well, I think a range finding shot is enough. Then that actually is my very first kill on a helicopter. I actually didn't encounter that many of them. I up-tiered myself actually quite a lot to hopefully shoot down some helicopters, but whenever I was on the Soviet team, I rarely saw them. When I was in the Warrior, I constantly saw them. But how to play actually the tank in a rural environment. So as you can see, the capture zone is in the green park, and we are actually going on a flanking expedition. And it's very likely that we have the Germans as the opponents, that they want to actually contest A directly or flank through the middle. And so we can actually create an ambush. And again, the high rate of fire of the 30mm, the penetration power, the fragility of German tanks, launching here a random artillery strike. Let's see if we can achieve something. And as a backup, we have the rocket. So let's see what is what. Oh, there is a Leopard. I scouted him, and let's see if he tries again. And there was a Raketniak-Panzer as well. We kill the Leopard. Where is the Raketniak-Panzer? There it is. Rockets out. Thank you very much. Double kill. Just like that. As an ambush predator, this is great. And yeah, I also want to show you now this battle again. I wanted to show it to you because somebody actually activated an anti-mech order, and as I pointed out, those orders can earn you quite a lot of money if you do it right. And so I just tried to flank here, and I also went to A. Now on this map, I think A is a great opportunity for you to get out there and just do stuff. And there the ATGM is out, again on a chieftain, and again a one-shot kill, blowing up ammunition. Very satisfying, but my job is not done yet. The only thing that I'm out of is flex tape for that chieftain, but I don't really care. And now I'm really eager to find out, can I actually get enough kills to be on top of the leaderboard for the order? What is that? Yeah, that's a Sheridan. I see quite a lot of them recently, and that's him taken out. I guess since the ATGM fix, the Sheridan got really a revival, but sadly it's not really that convincing. It just has the ATGMs and nothing more but those effectively on the battlefields. So I might just drive that thing myself in the future to find out how it really performs. And now I go into A, and the funny thing is, I think somebody went AFK. Hello there. And now we can methodically just try to take him out. And there it is. So that was weird. I think he went with the autopilot into the rocks, or tried to hide there, or lock down the cap. I don't know. I actually heard him again before I saw him. Maybe you cannot hear it because the video is always much more silent. Smoking up this area here, because from B very often snipers are trying to shoot down here, and yeah, so now we cap. And now while we are in the cap, I just thought for a second about refilling my rockets, my ATGMs, and also one of my smoke launchers to get back into the fight with full supply. Again, as you can see with the ammunition down in the box, I actually don't have that much effective of belt 1. Belt 2 is exactly the same, but it's just the AP shot with 67mm of penetration and not the 100mm of penetration. But I think with the BMP-1 and 2 you actually face less of the rather fragile tanks that you face with the Warrior, as I've shown before. The Warrior is entitled to meet more tanks that it actually can destroy with the 30mm that actually gets spammed out. Object 906, Object 120, BMP-1 and 2, and some other tanks. But the only thing that is really fragile enough for this tank is, yeah, something German. The Leopard, a lot of the tanks from the side, and you have to make it up with the 10% less of penetration power for overall less shells as well, and less performance time with the high rate of fire. So it's really a bit strange. And then we can see what I actually don't like about the tank. So first of all, I got like 30,000 civil lines for the 4 kills additional to what I earned now. And I see this tank, but I just can't get my gun on him. And I might just fire an ATGM, but then the stabilizer stabilizes for 1 shot, and before I can do anything about it, I get disabled, and then my transmission gets knocked out, my gun system gets knocked out, and I just can't shoot back at him. And just before I could retreat in time, he actually kills me. So, lesson learned. So that was a bit of a downer. And what do we have against a downer? Well, what about American helicopters? So I switch here to the other belt. I saw them right at the start. They tried to sneak by. Now I don't open fire here because I expect they might get closer. And you can see that the shooting tempo here, I choose the higher rate of fire. You actually can alternate between 2 fire speed modes. First helicopter down, second one also down. But, you know, it wouldn't be a new addition to the game without causing some frustration even in death. Now I want to show you a bit of a stupid luck, and when I say stupid luck, I mean it like this. It was luck and it was stupid. I didn't deserve it. First thing of the day, of course, on this map we flank around and we actually spot an enemy tank. Looks like an XM1, so let's see if we can do something about it. And I did a lot of damage to him, but just missed on the kill, tracked him, he stopped behind the house, and that's actually not what I want to see. I want to kill him, so maybe I should have tracked him a second later. But you could see from the side the rapid fire of the 30mm. The Warrior couldn't have done the same, but the Warrior could have used the Milan, which probably would have one-shot him if he aimed for the turret. So I think now it's time to have some stupid luck, shall we? First scene, and we saw the tank just as he fired. The shell went through the tank without doing any sort of damage, and then watch this. When cars save your life. But I'm not done yet. Now I see, okay, It's the M551 Sheridan. I spotted him, and now I try to actually have a bit of fun with him. Let's see if we can hit him. Doesn't seem like this. Again, their shells do not go effectively through the building. He fires another rocket, and again it detonates on some debris on top of a house. Now I have the reload advantage, but I think that's it for today. And he actually got killed again by one of our allies. Yeah, I think I used up all my luck. So this is actually now the battle that I wanted to show you. And again, it's on the map where it offers you a lot of advantages. So it's quite the opposite of Karelia. And it's actually a map that looks good with all the green stuff and not just destroyed buildings and debris and, you know, Hurton Forest-like brownish, and just, it's a nice looking map. It looks a bit alive. It's nice to look at. That's all that I want to say about this map. And also that it is a map that's rather huge, or that's rather big, but not empty. So a lot of the maps that are big have still close quarters combat zones, and so they do not really offer you, you know, a real value for the size of the map. And again, we see some helicopters coming in. Most of the time they are nothing but gun food or gunnery practice. I think a lot of people that spawn that early on with those helicopters have no clue how to use them, and they just fly way too low. They're going in way too close, and they just make an easy target. I saw so many IS-7s getting a kill on those things. That's either telling us that they are flying too low, or that the IS-7 has some, yeah, SBA properties that I have not spoken in my tank review about it. Okay, jokes aside, let's move into here the side of the road. The road embankment is our cover, and we move in. So we see a tank firing happily away, and now I have no cover on my way, but there is a hill to my right that then further I can use as cover. And at the moment I hear the helicopter being relatively close. I think to myself, well, don't attack me right now, man. Stay away. But of course, with the luck that I have as a War Thunder player, of course he's going for me. Of course he's going for me. And he tries to smoke me with the machine gun. I actually angle a little bit, going forwards and backwards, and thank you very much. And this time we actually don't get killed off by the rocket spam after death, but the machine gun hits gave our position away to the XM1. He goes aggressively in, he got damaged already, and we finish him off with an ATGM straight through the weak spot. So this time actually the ATGM behaved. It's not like that the ATGM is terrible, but I had some scenes where it just didn't behave just as I wanted it, and it just moved a little bit sideways before lining up with the target, and that at such short range that it just was resulted in missing. So here we just spot the enemy, we observe, we wait for the cooldown on the binoculars, because after you spot one tank you cannot look into the direction of another tank and give away this position. But obviously that mechanic needs a little bit of a cooldown. There were so many situations where I just could spot like 5-6 enemy tanks and give their position away to my team. So this would be it would be open for being abused, let's put it that way. So, and I'm going in aggressively. I don't think that the enemy team is expecting to come a tank from this perspective. You can see there are 2 more tanks on this flank using the road embankment to their advantage as cover, and yeah, that was another Sheridan. Now, I saw an M103 previously backed up by what looked like a Vickers MBT, and so I wanted to go much closer. Now I receive artillery fire, and I have no idea where this is coming from. An ATGM went into this direction, So something must be there. Something must be there. And it's not one of my teammates. I see that on the minimap. And I think to myself, well, I have to investigate. I have to get rid of this guy on the flank. He poses a massive threat. And then he is there, and hello there, little boy. And that was kind of a waste of bullets on this M2A4. So very often I actually use the lower rate of fire, as you saw in previous clips. Now, is now my way free to go to A? Have those tanks been killed already? I mean, I spotted them, and I will happily do so again if I get the opportunity. It's just a habit of mine in a light tank. It's a great mechanic, it's powerful, use it. That's what I want to say with it. So the next thing is, this capture zone seems to be free. So all the tanks around it have been killed apparently. And when capping, I actually would make myself very, how should I say it, vulnerable. I would give away my positional advantage. I would give away my mobility advantage by just staying in a cap. But again, the BMP-2, like the BMP-1, has two sources of smoke. Smoke launchers and actually the exhaust fume system, or exhaust smoke system. And I use it here. So I actually move a little bit in the capture zone to then go back and then use my smoke. And as you can see, it will last quite a while and cover my position. Of course, if an SPA goes in and he knows the how it works, he just can spray me to death, just randomly shooting into the cap. Also, it will not hide you from artillery strikes, of course, but I try my best here. So the smoke seems to fade. So I I launch here another smoke shell, and I'm in the cap. Again, I could probably reload, but it's the end of the battle, and there is not much left to kill. So I think it's not worth the time. I still have 3 ATGMs left, so you could see I only used 1. So I scout this tank, and I did not know if he was actually coming out of the spawn because he was directly in the spawn, if his spawn protection was already gone. I marked him, got a kill assist for that from the IT1, so yeah. I could have used him definitely here. I see the traces of the M163, and of course I'm going in. Let's see if we can kill him with the gunfire alone. Aim for the turret. And now he's dead. So those are the guys in the back that give this tank a rather surprisingly amount of survivability. That was the last kill, and that was it actually for this battle. Let's have a quick look at the post-battle results, and we can see 50,000 silver lines and 5,000 vehicle research points, survivor medal, all the stuff that I want from such a tank. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the battlefields and in the skies of War Thunder.